Welcome to Audacity Works, a podcast inspired by and dedicated to the working artist, the creative entrepreneur, and generally, doing the damn thing. This exists on the premise that the world belongs to those who have the audacity to believe that their lives have value. This is for you. Welcome to Audacity Works. I am your host, Rachel Strickland, and this is a companion episode to last week's drop. That was episode 145. I'll link it in the show notes. And it was about what I learned during my month as a wheelchair user. And I've never made a companion episode before. It's kind of like it's a bonus, because I got some really good feedback from Erin Ball of intercomplementaryjourneys.com. You can also follow them. It's a team, Maxime and Erin. You can follow them on Instagram. I'll link that in the show notes as well. Now, Erin sent me the feedback in time, technically, to be able to make corrections on the podcast itself. However, given my reduced capacity and the chronic pain that I was in, especially last week, it was not possible. It was possible, but it was not going to happen. So I decided to create this companion episode so that I could share the insights that Erin shared with me, because I learned a lot from them. In particular, how to use affirming language when speaking about disability, and how language outside of what is in alignment for the disabled community can perpetuate a harmful situation. So I just wanted to drop this little bonus episode because I learned some things. Maybe you learned some things too. It'll be short and sweet. So first things first, Erin pointed out something that I said in the beginning. I made a comment like my ability was taken away, and Erin pointed out my ability was not taken away, because disability, as a reclaimed word, and it has been reclaimed, does not mean unable. It means a disabled person is going through a world that was not set up for them. Something I am absolutely certain every one of you knows how that feels in one way or another, because the world was set up for Standard Man, a 6-foot-tall, mythical policeman. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, I have a whole episode about it, and I will link that in the show notes as well. It's one of my favorite ones I've ever recorded. So if you fall anywhere outside of the 6-foot-tall mythical policeman, the world was not set up for you. And the farther you get away from Standard Man, the more the world was not set up for you. So if things are set up for you, you are able. If they're not, you are not. This is true of all humans, regardless of disability. That is a direct quote from Erin. And even using terms like able-bodied, which is colloquially just kind of antiquated, but it perpetuates the idea that disabled people are less than and are unable. Disabled people are able if the world is set up for them. Or a situation, rather. And the same thing goes for terms like handy-capable, differently abled, special needs, or physically challenged. These are all made, they're well-meaning terms. But the disabled community has reclaimed the word disabled, because these seemingly well-meaning attempts by non-disabled people to refer to the experience of a disabled person, it just dances around the facts. And you can read more about this at Say the Word. That's hashtag Say the Word. There's actually a public health post about it that I read, and I found that really illuminating. I'll link that for you in the show notes as well. I also made a comment in my last episode about how my best friend was, quote unquote, really lucky not to be paralyzed, which is a really ableist thing to say, because paralyzed people can and do have extremely full lives. And that sort of stigma around paralysis, which I definitely have internalized in myself, makes paralysis out to be like the worst possible thing that could ever happen to a person, And again, it just structures and internalizes the idea that disability is bad. If I had had the spoons, side note, if you don't know where that term comes from, it comes from the disabled community having the spoons, specifically having or living in chronic illness, and it comes from an article written by Christine Miserandino. I've never said their name out loud before, but it's called The Spoon Theory. And I'll link that in the show notes as well, because I just started using that phrase because people were using it colloquially, and I didn't even learn what it was about until several years later. So it's a good read and a good way of understanding how someone who's dealing with chronic illness approaches life. But anyway, if I had had the spoons, I would have taken that line out entirely about my best friend being, quote unquote, so lucky not to be paralyzed, because I do agree with Erin that that it does perpetuate like a harmful way of thinking that we've massively internalized as a society. And finally, Erin pointed out like there were more pros and positives that I could have shared. And actually I wanted to. It was more of a limited to the spoons situation. As examples, Erin offered the way that they experience their disability does have pros. Like they can change their height. They can fit into really small spaces. And so here you go. When you're a wheelchair user, you have a seat wherever you go. And in a crowded pub like that, the pub that I went to, I was like, this is so disruptive. I'm going to the beer garden and I'm just going to sit here. And all my friends came with me, but they had to stand up the whole time. There was nowhere to sit. I brought my seat with me. Definitely a pro. It was also really fun to just, I learned how to navigate myself around. Going down a ramp, super fun. Now, most people were afraid, like if someone was pushing me, like, oh God, this ramp has a pretty steep grade. I'm like, yeah, let me go. I want to feel the speed. There was also something kind of freeing about just knowing a lot of things, a lot of activities and stuff were just not going to be available to me. So I didn't have to worry about them. I didn't have to spend that mental load was not put on me. Like, oh, should I do this or should I do this? I'm like, well, I'm not going to do that because it's not accessible. So I don't have to even think about it. And it's funny because during the IADF, someone, I don't remember who made this comment to me, but we were chatting. We're sitting outside on the stoop where I would roll myself in between classes to get some fresh air. And they just sort of looked at me and said, "You must be enjoying this." Now that was a strange thing to say. And I have to wonder where it came from. I didn't ask any questions at the time, but I did admit, I'm like, there has to be some perks. I would enjoy being able to walk in an ambulatory fashion the way that I'm accustomed to. But since that's not a possibility right now, yeah, I am going to enjoy what is there to enjoy. They may have been referring to the amount of attention, like sheer attention and care that I received, which is true. And every situation has its perks. That was kind of a sweeping generalization that I just made. But I definitely live by the axiom, I am allowed to enjoy anything that I enjoy. And was it a bad thing to have the love and care and attention of so many wonderful people? No, it wasn't bad. It was awesome. All the other things were still true, but so was that. Okay, my friends, I wanted to share Erin's insights with you. I'm really grateful for them. They've made it clear to me just how internalized this sense of avoiding even the word disability, and just how internalized that has become. And it's in me, and now I'm more aware of it. But I still have to record the episode for Wednesday, so I'm going to sign off now. You'll have another right on time on Wednesday at 6 a.m. But I want to go ahead and get this out. Check the show notes for supporting materials. And thank you so much for listening. Don't go back to sleep.